Here we go. These guys don't quit. No fucking way. Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the episodic discussion. We are talking about the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw demo for the remake, and quite interesting. Not really that long, but it gives you a good idea of the gameplay mechanics in the game, and I thought it was very entertaining for what it was. So I'm your host, Renegade Operative, and today we will introduce the panel. So we have Des.
I'm first. Okay. I don't know. I'm Des. Hi. It's been a while since I've been here, but I'm happy to be explaining an entry into my favorite an entry that's in my favorite franchise. Yeah. Hi.
Next we have Shadow.
Yeah, howdy all. It's also been a while since I've been on one of these. Life is getting in the way a bit at the moment. But Capcom were very generous to finally give us our demo, and for once they decided not to limit us to one playthrough, which is nice of them. So here we are.
Oh, thank God it wasn't a 30-minute time demo. I would have pulled my hair out if that was the case.
I mean, you still could have run the game the demo like 2 or 3 times, even if it was. But in any event.
Yeah. Next we have Enderlucian.
How's it going? Can't wait to get into this because Resident Evil 4 is close. Ready to talk about this.
Next we have Fane.
Hello, I'm the new guy.
I'm the new guy.
Hi, new guy.
Casually says that. Next we have Kaneki.
Are we at bingo yet?
I was waiting for that to be said. God damn it. Well, at least he said it at the end of the demo, so that was something to appreciate. And last but not least, we have Todowski.
Hey, how's it going? I'm the other new guy.
And those 2 new guys are. That's interesting. You sure they're not Ganado? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so we're
Got
gonna.
one other important player.
Oh yeah, Austin, introduce yourself.
I am AK Austin. As a general reminder to everybody who's listening and watching, I'm sorry for the buzzing. I tried my best to fix it. It's not working, so I hope Ren can do something about it. If not, I am very sorry. I'll bill you for the repairs later.
Oh fuck. Okay. So we're gonna get right into it with the first question. And the first question is, what is your general first impressions upon playing the RE4 Chainsaw demo? How did you compare it to the gameplay of the original? What did you like, dislike, etc.? And first, we're gonna start off with Des.
So I thought that it was good in my opinion. It was different in the sense that I feel like we could explore the initial house a little bit more. Like there was more to it than just like going in and going upstairs. And then the scenery that's like, outside of the house, it felt kind of confined, which added to the spooky feel. I don't know if anybody else felt like that, but it looked different compared to like again the original. So at first I wasn't sure we were starting like right at the beginning because I kind of went in without like knowing anything about the demo. But I thought it was really nice. When you got to the village, I feel like I still had that same level of fear, trying to survive for as long as I could, as I did when playing through the original too. So even with like the small differences, it still had like it felt familiar, but like it had also this like fresh aspect to it. So it was really nice to play through.
All right, next up is Kaneki.
My first impressions of the RE4 Chainsaw demo. Where do I even begin? Oh boy, once I ran towards the village, it was the best part of this demo. This is probably the only Resident Evil demo where I kept constantly playing it and,
I actually shoot zombies in the head, unlike a certain PC player that we do not speak of. But I really have fun with this demo. You know, it definitely makes me, if I wasn't saving my money to buy other stuff, then this will be my day one purchase. Day one or Resident Evil for Chainsaw demo, because it gives you a taste of what to experience or what's to come with the full product, especially when you face the chainsaw guy. Was this Ganado, right?
It's I forget his goddamn name. The Salvador. That's
The
what they call him.
Salvador. Yeah, that motherfucker's scary.
I thought it
Especially
was
in the...
Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
thought
no,
it
you
was
go ahead.
Salazar. I thought it was Salazar.
No, Salazar is a boss. He's another. He's that little midget guy.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, I wonder how they're gonna. Did we even saw him yet in that?
No, you don't see him in the beginning of the game.
No, not in the beginning of the game. Did we ever see him in the trailer?
He's in the trailers, yes.
Oh man, imagine finding him. But no, I had a lot of fun with the demo for shooting zombies and Salvador, and I know you triggered another one if you killed the first one. It's pretty crazy. That's all I gotta say.
All right, Fane. What about you? What do you think of this?
Compared to the original game, it improves a lot of the mechanics, in my opinion. For one, you're not having to stop and try to shoot some of the zombies. You're able to keep running and shoot them. The atmosphere felt really eerie, and it had me pretty intense. Pretty intense. That's it.
I'm gonna go next. This demo was interesting in several ways. I'm gonna keep it brief. I just like the fact that it felt like RE4 but better. You can now move the camera around and you can do all these crazy parry attacks with the knife, which is new. I like how the director said that once you start using it, it's going to be hard to go back to the original, which I kind of agree with, because now it's like a key tool in your arsenal. I also liked the new villagers and how the Ganados worked and everything, how it felt like this time around, if they started to swarm you, then they would be all over the place. Like, usually you see like maybe 5 or 7 of them, but this time it felt like it's like 10 or 11 all on each side, and I was like, okay, this is different. I have to run. I have to watch all sides now. I have to really pay attention to my surroundings, otherwise I'm going to get killed. That's how it felt to me, really intense and boxed in when you get in the village. The beginning part is kind of scary, but after I figured out how to get past the guy with no neck, he was not that difficult. So it really varies until the end. The end is gonna test your skills, because that chainsaw guy can take like several bullets, grenades, shotguns, and he won't feel a thing at times. Overall, I thought it was great, tense, and it proved what it needed to do. It improved the gameplay in a space where everybody can play it and enjoy it. Next up is Enderlution.
So my thoughts on the demo compared to the remake gameplay compared to the original, there is a parry mechanic which is really useful, and yeah, it is gonna be hard to go back if you're playing the original, is that parry mechanic. And then also when it came to the Ganados, the AI drastically improved. There's been like instead of Ganados all in one area like the original, they would be like crowded out. And then I don't know if anybody's come across this, but with the chickens, sometimes they can like bounce up and like affect your gameplay and stun you. And then yeah, that happened to me once, and then Ganados just killed me right there. But I really like it compared to the original.
Shadow, it's your turn.
I'm going to try not to go on here because I have a lot that I can say about this game, this demo, like an absolute ton. it's been nearly 2 decades or since the original came out, and I think it's very easy and it's kind of natural to fall into the fog of the nostalgia of the old game. That's not to say the old game was bad, of course not. It was an incredibly defining game. It reinvented a genre, it reinvented a series, and took it into directions it didn't think it was ever going to make. But you've got to be careful when you go into this. And I was trying to be as objective as I can. It helps I've played RE4 a couple of times fairly recently. Of course, the game is going to benefit from a ton of the fact that in 20 years, the game has gone a long way. There's a ton. It's Resident Evil 4, but with a complete overhaul, with quality of life choices, improved graphics, better gameplay. It sounds better. It's going to feel better. Although I will criticize, there are so many goddamn control schemes for it, and I didn't like any of them. I played it on a Xbox controller, and I found all the control schemes like something was just aggravating me. We've gone from the days of having like here's 2 schemes, they're both good. I feel like there's so many now, you kind of can get lost, and then it's like, do you want to hold for running or do you want to toggle it? And I feel like it could be probably a bit more focused there, but it's a minor thing. I think obviously it's going to play really well, and there's no question about that. Like anyone who thinks that this game is not going to play well, obviously haven't really been paying much attention to Capcom as of late, and they've been putting out obviously tons of great games. But I'm not as effusive of praise as I feel like I could be in this. I enjoyed the demo. I can't say I fell in love with it though. I felt there's a couple of things that were bugging me, and I do have a couple of concerns when this actual game comes. I'll talk about those later on. But all in all, like, I enjoyed the demo. I thought it was good. I didn't play it like tons. Like, I can't do it at the moment. I played it enough times, but I don't know. I'll talk more about it later on. But overall, it was good to start.
All right, and the last one, well, you got 2 more actually. Todowski, give us your opinion on this.
Yeah, I feel like I gotta kind of echo a little bit of what Shadow said. It's easy to get caught up in the fact that it's a classic, right? We all fell in love with it. I'm sure it's probably known as one of the most, series changing of games in pretty much any series. And of course, graphically, it's going to look great, which it does. And so I could sit here and I could repeat the same things everyone said. There are things that are great about it and stuff like that. But I want to touch on like 2 things real quick about it that I noticed. Number one, and you kind of talked about it a little bit ago, is the controllers. And I feel like with the old one, because it was made for GameCube, the GameCube controller was completely, different. It was easier to move because of the way the controller was configured, but when you started playing it, I feel like in a modern time, things didn't flow as nice. So now that they've kind of optimized it for keyboard and or controller, I feel like the gameplay is way smoother than when you go to play like the original today. That's one thing I noticed right off the bat. The other thing I want to say that I would feel like I get a little bit dissuaded from is all the little things that you could pick up for no reason, and that kind of irritates me because I didn't feel there was a purpose to picking up a lot of things, and maybe that might not be in the full game when it comes out, but in the demo it kind of got irritating when you're trying to move around and then all of a sudden you pick something up and you're like, well, why am I picking this up? Why am I looking at it? But those negative things aside, I still got to say I'm very impressed with it. I'm looking forward to it. I kind of want to see where they go with it, what they do change, how they change it, and it's so hard to tell that off such a short demo. So that's about it.
All right, Austin, it's your turn.
It is my turn. So I'll try to be brief with this, but my general experience, because I'm currently playing through the original on stream as a long playthrough, just getting my thoughts out and what I expect of the remake and hope they do /change. I definitely will say the controls in this game are really good. In my personal opinion, I use, if I remember correctly, I use the control scheme B1, which is is pretty much the exact same control scheme that I use in the original, which is knife is in the right spot, shooting's roughly in the right spot other than the triggers. But the gameplay is so fluid in how you transition from one fight to the next and one encounter to the next to one each ganado to the next. It's super fun, especially when you we'll talk about it in the second part here, but with each like weapon, they each have their own strengths and weaknesses and how they can stun or get you through an encounter. It was super ecstatic, but in terms of gameplay, there's a lot of cool little details because there's sometimes random bear traps you can find in the village. They're not just randomly there. You can see villagers placing them down if you didn't know about that. I just saw that as I'm playing through this. But I just found out if a ganado's throwing like an axe or a melee weapon at you and you run by ganado, and they usually duck. Ganados know that their buddies are going to throw shit. They'll duck so they can get out of the way. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, if they're smart about it. You can have their melee weapons hit them in as well. I legit dodged into a ganado, and the melee weapon that was thrown hit that ganado. That was super fucking cool, because he even reacted. He was like, "Argh!" It was super cool. So I'm just like, if there's little details about that is throughout this game, I've noticed that Dr. Salvador can legit just chainsaw a random ganado in half if he's swinging wildly. So I should have expected that, but I thought it was just really funny. But yeah, like just the attention to detail, the expansive gameplay elements around everything, where everything reacts to each other, everything's physics based, is super cool. And I'm just really goddamn excited for to see the rest of the gameplay, because apparently we're going to get a lot more gameplay mechanics other than just what we know and are hinted at. So I'm super goddamn excited.
All right, and we're gonna move right to the second question, and that involves weapons. So the general weapons in the demo, what did you think about them? Whether it came to the handgun, the knife, shotgun, grenades, the secret TMP, etc. I'll go first on this real quick. I liked all the general weapons in the game. Of course, the handgun, the rate of fire is like really different, but it's super powerful. So you really got to hit headshots right. You can't be slacking on headshots, leg shots. You got to know where to shoot. Although I did have a problem at certain times where I'm like shooting at someone's legs and the bullets are going through them at times. It usually happens on the female ganado. I'm not sure if it's going straight through the dress or not, but there are times where I'm aiming for the legs and it does not register. But other than that, the guns feel super good. Shotgun feels super powerful. Although when I got to Mr. Salvador, he was taking those shots, so I was like, okay, I was like, oh man, am I gonna kill this guy or not? Because he's a tank. Grenades are also great to clear out people. And I shot like I basically threw a grenade and Mr. Salvador like shot off the building, and that was pretty funny. It's a hidden flashbang too before you go to the village, so I saw that as well. That's also super effective for knocking out the plagas with the half sort of torn necks. It's not full plagas, but they are in the demo when you see them. And the TMP is great. It's actually, I would say the TMP is better in this game than the original, because my god, it just slices through people like Swiss cheese. Is really good in terms of setting up combos and everything, even more than the original, and it's very damaging, headshots, all that stuff. So if it's like that in the main game, it's going to be a beast. And that's how I feel about all the weapons so far. And the knife is pretty great too. Stabbing, parrying, it is something that's going to be interesting when we see the unbreakable knife in the full game. So I'm going to give the baton to Shadow. What do you think about the weapons?
One thing I'll add here as a note, the TMP obviously felt really good, but it was also incredibly souped up because it's obviously a secret weapon, basically. It was kind of neat that they did that, but it's like way more powerful than you're ever going to have at that stage of the game. And in fact, I would imagine by that stage of the game for that fight, you actually won't have the TMP, I'm pretty sure, because it used to come up later, and I don't see the giver. Anyways, I think the weapons definitely feel pretty good. From what I saw and from people I spoke to, the shotgun I think had a lot of praise. It felt very beefy. Definitely felt like it kind of worked really well. Obviously, with the physics engine they've got, and just literally tearing dudes in front of you apart, which is always a satisfying thing to do in this day and age. I still struggle to suspend my disbelief that I can hold off a chainsaw with a combat knife. Like, I still struggle with that. That's again probably a nitpick, but I just mentally struggle to make that leap of faith. And I'm willing to embrace that. It is what it is. But I will say the parrying system they have introduced for this, I think, is pretty solid. I wasn't sure going into it, but having a bit of a play of it, it actually feels fairly intuitive enough, and it kind of like rewards a bit of on the feet thinking, which is something we've always thought about with Leon. Like he's not like a big, he's not like a big brute. It's always about a bit of finesse, a bit of skill, a bit of style. And I think it plays into that really, really well with kind of the parrying system, which of course also ties into the original with obviously like all the crowds and stuff and that sort of thing. So I think like thematically it makes sense, gameplay it makes sense. And I was really impressed with the knife stuff. I got a lot more out of that than I was expecting. As for the other stuff as we get through the game, obviously there's other weapons as well to deal with, but the pistol's like fine, I guess. But yeah, the shotgun's good. The parrying system I can definitely get behind. And obviously like having to use your knife as a resource now rather than just you've got a knife, it doesn't break, have fun with it. So I was on the whole happy enough with it. It makes me curious to see what they're going to do with obviously other weapons down the line. Obviously, and see how that's going to kind of react, especially like hunting rifles. I be an awful lot of fun in this game. I think that could be very entertaining, but we shall see.
All right, Des, it's your turn.
So I think I don't think I ended up using grenades. Like I only really had experience with the handgun, the knife, and the shotgun. I didn't even look around for any secrets, and I only gave the demo like one playthrough. But the handgun, I was I focused more so on like headshots. I didn't focus on too many body shots, so I'm not really sure how that affected the enemies when they would walk toward you. But I definitely I think I might have played on like the easier difficulty, so like they seem to go down pretty easily, which was something that I enjoyed. The knife I was really nervous about because I think Resident Evil 2 Remake kind of scared me in the sense like when I went to go stab like I guess like when you get attacked and like you can stab to kind of get out of it, I was afraid that I would lose the knife, but was kind of shocked to realize that that wasn't the case and you can kind of take it back. But I noticed that the knife itself like has a like life of its like I don't know, life of its own. I don't really know how to explain that. Like so like that's something that which is kind of cool. Like I kind of hate it, but at the same time I am like, oh okay, so hopefully like it's really cool because you can just find more knives maybe. I guess once we get when the actual game comes out, and it's something that you're not just able to rely on while you're playing through the game solely. So I guess like you kind of have to be smart in the sense of trying to use those and just maybe try not to get attacked so much, I'm gonna say, as I probably continuously get attacked while playing that game. And then the shotgun I was here for. I don't think that I honestly used it a lot, only because I'm the type of person that tries to save everything. So the shotgun ended up being like my last resort, and it was like right in the village. So like obviously once I ran out of ammo, like I mean, it seemed powerful enough, but it was like once I ran out of ammo, I was like, all right, well, won't be using this now. But I did like enjoy the 3 weapons that I did get to have experience with, and I'm really excited to see how everything like pans out in the full game.
Kaneki, it is your turn. Tell us about the weapons and your experience, good sir.
For what I used from the demo, I liked all the weapons, but Ren, my favorite weapon of all time is know, a certain part of your body you get to use once you stun your enemies.
Roundhouse
You
kicks?
know what I'm talking about. Yes, the roundhouse kick. The roundhouse kick. Deadliest weapon to have, especially if you manage to kill El Salvador with it. Man, that was satisfying. But if not the roundhouse kick, probably my favorite weapons would be between the shotguns, the hand grenades, and the TMP. Because oh boy, were they definitely come in handy when handling El Salvador and tons of villagers. And that's all I gotta say.
Enderlucian, it is your turn.
Okay, so when it came to the weapons, I really thought they were like they did damage and they seemed like that, especially with the shotgun. And I liked how with the grenades, especially the flash grenade, when you would flash all the gnados and such, you can actually go up to the enemies and then use your knife and stab them. I like that. But when it really came to the knife, though, I like the parrying, especially out of the when gnados throw their axes. You can like parry them out of the air instead of like. I mean, you can also shoot them, but I like that with a knife. The TMP, especially on Salvador, really powerful. I think it was upgraded a bit though, so it probably won't be like that in the base game.
All right, Fane, it is your turn. Tell us, what do you think of the weapons?
So throughout my playthrough, I had the pistol, the knife, and the grenade. I really liked the pistol because I was able to stun them and then go in for the melee attacks if I wanted to. But since I went out and just tried to survive as long as I can, I ended up using the headshots to stun them so I could just get away. I feel like the grenade had like a lower blast radius than the original. That could be me. I really do like the knife, and it had like a health bar on it to show like how many times you use it. So I expect that maybe you might find other more knives. Melees, I thought they were pretty good and pretty clean. I think that's all I gotta say about that.
All right, we're gonna let Austin go next.
So, the general bins that we were supplied with, I love the handgun. I think it's definitely much better, effective wise, than the original Silver Ghost. The Silver Ghost in the base game of the original is pretty trash until you get it upgraded. Where like the other guns like Red 9, Blacktail, even the Punisher are still pretty decent at base. But that shotgun, man. That goddamn shotgun is so nice. I love that goddamn shotgun. Being able... The best moment I had with that shotgun was that I was going down the stairs after grabbing the shotgun. Some lady was coming up the stairs with a pitchfork. I aimed just straight down and blew her right in half. And I was just like, ooh, baby, it's so fucking clean. The shotgun is so nice. And this is just the fucking base shotgun. Wait until we get the riot shotgun. Then I'll be having a lot more fun with that shit. But yeah, riot shot, the base shotgun's super fun. Really loved it. The TMP is super fun. Even though I'm not a big fan of the TMP, I've never been a big fan of the TMP, even the original. Even though it could be a good boss killer weapon for sure. The TMP in this game definitely feels a lot stronger, yet has less ammo potential, if you get what I mean. Because it's maxly upgraded, and it only carries 50 rounds, which is like really low. But I guess they're trying to balance it, because in the original game, that shit had like 150 rounds at max upgrade. So it was a bit ridiculous. But I think the TMP in this one, especially if you get like the parts for it, like the stock, and I think there's a laser sight you can get for it, it'd probably be like even better. Precision-wise, shot for shot. The knife is just the bread and butter of it all. You can parry with it. You can do special attacks with it. You can actually knife enemies pretty decently with it. Like, enemies die pretty fast to a knife, at least on the normal difficulty that you can normally play on the demo. I did notice this though. Yes, you can grab like kitchen knives. There's some kitchen knives, like there's like one or two throughout the village that you can pick up and use. Granted, it does less damage and the durability is dramatically lower, and you can easily break the crap out of them. I did notice though that in the crafting menu, you can take 2 kitchen knives, and I think you can use 2 kitchen knives to repair your base knife if you have it in inventory. I believe you can do that. I have to go back through it, but I'm pretty sure it was you're able to reuse just basic knives to repair your base knife, which I think is actually pretty cool. That's definitely a nice feature that I like. It's, again, using your knife as a resource. Very fucking awesome to use. Very smart way of handling the resource situation. Oh, you have a bunch of these extra knives that you can either just use and toss, or you can just break them down and use them as parts. Definitely worth it. I would say the grenades, yes, they did seem a little bit weird in their blast radius, but I've noticed that they're more physics-based. So if there's an enemy that's like behind like a window and you throw the grenade just outside the window, it won't affect them as accurately because it's like physics-based. So I've noticed that they're using a little bit more realism. Grenade that explodes and there's like a solid physical object in the way, it won't affect anyone there. Where in the original, a grenade had like a weird radius effect where it hit almost everybody near it. I'm not saying that makes a grenade worse, in my opinion. I just feel like you need to be a little bit more careful with how you throw it, and you can also see where you're throwing it, which I think is a much needed adjustment. Overall, the guns are awesome. I'm excited to see the other guns. I want to get my Blacktail. I want to get my riot gun. I want my semi-auto. I'm all excited for that crap. But yeah, there's a lot to be had here, and I cannot wait.
All right. Sorry, Todowski, you were the final one. So are you back yet?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so I mean, there's not much I could say. You guys have pretty much delved into all the weapons as much as you can. They're basically going the modern day route. It's not anything new to see in games nowadays to see weapons behave the way they are in this game. Where you shoot depends on how much damage you do. I mean, it's pretty modernized, which is a good aspect to it. Knives fall apart. That's what happens. I mean, you use it enough, eventually it's either going to get dull or it's going to break. I mean, like you said, the realism is there, which is awesome. The way that you shoot, where you shoot, all these kind of things can either drop someone faster or slow, take forever. Depending on the gun you have, it's all relative. But obviously, they're going to have the merchant. You're going to be able to upgrade things. It's the same that they've been doing from the remake of 2 all the way until now, or even the remake of 1, allowing you to have multiple knives, upgrading through a store and stuff like that. So I really got nothing else to really say. Everything was good. It was cool. I like the modernist approach, especially in survival type of games like this, and it just makes a big difference as far as that goes.
All right. Now, this question is going to be a little bit tricky, so I'm just going to focus on the 2 people who have played this mode, and if anyone in the chat wants to chime in or skip, they are able to do so in the podcast chat. But this is about the Mad Chainsaw mode, which is, first we thought it was RNG, how it randomly popped up and we could play it, and it is a harder version of the Resident Evil 4 Remake Chainsaw Demo, where the enemies take more damage, there's more enemies, the Super Salvador is in there with the bladed chainsaw that's like on fire. It's pretty insane. So we're asking if people have played this mode during the time, or did they discover it or see other people play it, and if so, what did you think of the overall challenge, preferably if you played it. I'm going to go first. I have played it and it is insane. The first thing I notice is that, of course, they take more damage. So fighting that horde of Ganado in the village is not worth it. You're going to want to kill the chainsaw guy as fast as possible in order for the bell to ring. I was told the only way to get out is to kill him first and the bell will ring. I notice he is faster. I notice he basically takes more damage, and he can easily kill you just like that, like nothing, if he catches you. I killed him twice before I came into this call, so I feel pretty good about it. But there's also the beginning where the guy who has his neck like snapped. It's not one of them standing there trying to kill Leon. It's like three of them. So what I did was I got them to kite into the wall. It's like a little wooden barricade between you and them. Once they are kited, just run up the stairs really quickly. It's not really that big of a deal. And the rest is just worrying about not getting hit by the Ganado that could do like 2x damage. It's challenging. It's interesting that it's not going to be in the main game, but I assume it's going to be repurposed into professional, where you take more damage and a lot of other stuff will happen. It was interesting to do. I just wish that it was a separate mode instead of having to wait for RNG or putting in that cheat code or whatever. Like the cheat code really helped you get to it faster once that came out. I think that was from Maximilian Dude. Other than that, I would say this is only for the hardcore. Try it out if you want to, but be warned, it is balls hard. And that's all I have to say about it. Now, Austin, it's your turn since you experienced this. What did you think of Mad Chainsaw?
That chainsaw, when I first realized, because I had stopped the stream when I played it, and legit the day after, somebody that I followed was like, "There's a new difficulty? What?" I was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "I gotta get this." And no shot, it took me like 2 attempts, and I got it. And I was like, "Oh, cool." Started playing it, did not know what to expect. Didn't expect the 3 reanimated Ganados in the basement, and I was like, oh boy. Yeah, I had to quickly get out of there. But yeah, the Mad Chainsaw difficulty was super challenging, but I think it was actually a really fun challenge. It was tense as hell. I was definitely enjoying the whole, like, oh, I'm about to get my ass kicked. I need to run. So I think the best part of the challenge was that Super Salvador comes in, and he wears a white head bag, and his chainsaw is legit burning hot, and he is fast as hell. I did not know what to do he did not kill me. He did not kill me at all. I never died to Super Salvador or Dr. Salvador because I've always had it in me as a young kid who feared Dr. Salvador for a long time until I conquered that fear after I started beating him on my own. That I will never let him kill me again without a purpose. So I did my best to not die by him. Unfortunately, I jumped down on one part and I just got swarmed and killed. But you can easily kite Super Salvador using the ladders and etc. And that's how I beat him. I kite him around, I beat him. It was a little tricky. I got some few close calls, but it was super fun. The challenge itself, if it has a similar damage ratio or similar damage numbers on like professional, but without having any of these, without having like Super Salvador and stuff, I would definitely play that for sure. I don't want to play a mode that's like, oh, this is meant to be like super overwhelmingly challenging hard. I'm like, I'd rather play the game as it was first intended than play like the super gimmicky meme challenge. But yeah. Yeah, do not get caught by the Ganado, yeah. The one grab did legit half your health from everything. And if it was a reanimated Ganado, they would kill you instantly if you had to use the knife. You had to use the knife to get out of almost everything. And I was like, I need to save the knife to do extra damage to Dr. Salvador, which honestly does a lot of damage. If you can stun Super Salvador and knife him, it does quite a lot of damage. One's on normal difficulty, one knife stab, and then like a good half clip of the TMP takes him down, pretty much. Definitely worth the challenge. Definitely worth a go. If they, I'm pretty sure they might keep the demo up. So for future playthroughs, that'd be pretty nice to see others attempt the challenge. But yeah, I'd say it's worth a go. Make sure you're prepared to Dark Souls roll your way out of everything, because that's what it feels like. But yeah, definitely worth it.
I have a fun fact before I pass the baton to Shadow. There is a bug in the demo for Mad Chainsaw where you can spawn 2 Super Salvadors. I saw Bach do this. What you need to do is the door exiting the village where the chainsaw guy spawns. You need to go there first and spawn him. Then if you kill him and run into the house where the cutscene spawns, where Leon closes the door, another one will spawn. So there is an opportunity to make 2 of them spawn if you kill one and then kill the other one, which is quite fucking insane if you ask my opinion. But yeah, you can make that happen if you want the extra challenge. So Shadow,
If I could,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, can I chime in real quick? That's a direct reference to the original game.
Yeah, I was going to say this original game had the same as well.
I did not know that. I always kill the chainsaw guy before that ever happened.
Yeah, you can do it in the original game. You can take him down. You enter the house and he like respawns because he's part of the cutscene, and that could happen.
Yeah, there's a chainsaw guy waiting at the exit where you go to the farm area. There's a chainsaw guy there, and he drops a ruby.
Oh, is that the one where you come from the well and you see him? Or am I thinking of something else?
It's where the houses are, where you would collect like money and some ammo in the remake.
Oh, okay.
That door. In the original, there's a Dr. Salvador, albeit a weaker one. He takes much less damage. He has probably half as amount of health than the house one that spawns. But he's definitely worth the killing, because I legit did not know this until very recently, until I did my long playthrough. So that's a very recent knowledge to me. But he does drop like a 10,000 worth ruby, so it's worth killing him.
Okay. So Shadow, it is your turn. What do you think of Mad Chainsaw?
So I don't actually really intend to talk at all about how hard this was or wasn't. I think it's more, I'm here more for like, what does it actually mean? I will say, first of all, I think it's kind of neat to have a demo and like kind of throw in like an extra difficulty. I think it's a nice touch. You don't get that a lot of the time, really. And I think it's cute of the developers definitely to do it. And yeah, obviously it's really hard. And all that sort of thing is really good. Is it a glimpse to what Resident Evil 4 Professional is going to look like? I think it probably is. I suspect you'll find that RE4 Professional is basically the same thing. I think they're calling it Mad Chainsaw to say, oh, it's a one-time only thing, but I imagine Professional is going to be more or less the same thing. I think what's more interesting is I think this opens an insight to a greater theory I've got about what I think RE4 is going to be, and the fact that if you think to say like in RE4, the original game, when you up the difficulty, obviously enemies take more damage and they hit you a shitload harder. But the thing they didn't happen was it didn't change up spawns. And obviously that was the thing that was notable with Mad Chainsaw, especially in obviously the opening area, is the fact that the game throws extra dudes at you at the very beginning. I'm not necessarily. I think it's obviously nice. I think the idea is to try and keep players on their feet and kind of thing, and to kind of make them all not know what exactly to expect. Or that was literally like that only one thing. But I do think that actually has some implications onto what I think they're actually going to do with this game. Fair enough, I also think Super Salvador also feeds into that. I'll talk about it a little bit later on. And obviously I do like him. I think the design of him is cool. I did suss out when I did Man Chainsaw pretty quick. It was like, all right, okay, so we're gonna have to take out Super Salvador in order to actually clear this. Which is cute, and I'm glad they kind of did it for like that thing. It will not be the case, I'm pretty sure, in the main game. You'll be able to wait out if you need to. The one thing I do want to quickly say as well, I think I forgot to mention it in the last one, or actually, no, I'll talk about it later on in the game. Actually, don't worry about that. But yeah, I mean, it was a nice novelty throw in. It was kind of cool. I think I think you were a bit reliant on what you pick up as to whether you have much of a chance of beating it. If you don't know about the TMP, then you've got a problem. Because trying to kill Super Salvador, he's crazy tanky, is a bit of an issue. You're kind of reliant on what you find. But you know, I guess that's the whole idea. Man Chainsaw's meant to be kind of like a novelty spin-off. It was fine. I'm glad to have done it. I never actually killed him. I couldn't be asked really to go back and actually keep doing it until I did. I didn't think it was necessary. But it does feed into some things I'll talk about later on about my thoughts of this demo and what I think what it means for RE4 as a whole.
All right. So we're gonna move on to the next question. I think that's enough for Mad Chainsaw. So we're gonna talk about the AI and the Ganado this time around. Did they feel smart, dumb, or in between? The first person I'm gonna let go is Kaneki.
The enemy Ganado, explain a bit.
Yeah, how do you feel about them in terms of how they attacked you, and did you think they
Right.
were smart or dumb? Oh, I was muted for a second. I said, yeah, how do you feel about the enemy Ganado? Did you think they were smart, dumb, etc.?
Be scared of them, not scared.
Yeah, scared of them, not scared, stuff like that.
Um, that's a good question. You talk about the cow? I didn't even trigger that motherfucker.
No, not the cow, just the regular enemies, the villagers.
Oh, they were easy. They were the easiest part of the demo. The hardest part was the fucking the chainsaw guy. But no, the Ganado, I never played the original, but when I played this demo, I felt they were easy to handle. Like I almost had little to no issue with the Ganado whatsoever. Especially not running into them. Whoever does that, I don't know. Not the smartest thing to do.
I sort of know who that is, and the last name is Gaming, but I'm not gonna go any further. Fane, it is your turn. Tell us
Not a
what
gamer.
not a gamer. Tell us what you thought of the Ganado.
I
Fane.
feel like they were kind of in between.
Okay. Explain, elaborate.
I mean, compared to the original, they kind of felt the same. Maybe there might have been a slight intelligence boost to them, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell.
Is that all you have for this question?
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay, so I will go next then. I definitely felt like it is a bit of an in-between thing for them, in my opinion. It's sometimes where they shine through and they feel really smart. Like I noticed that they kept grabbing me from behind, which is something they would do a lot more frequently in this remake. Of course they did it in the original, but in this one it felt like it happened more often with the unarmed Ganado. And then for bright spots of seeing the AI be smart, there are times where they're super dumb, and I saw the Salvador chainsaw some guy's head off, and I'm like, now they're friendly firing and killing their own teammates and smacking their own members with like fucking scythes and pickaxes, and I'm just thinking, what is going on? Like, I guess they did that because they thought it was funny, but it just comes across as like just what it is, hilarious when the enemies hit each other. So I was like, I'm not complaining, just cut that guy's head off and he's not a problem anymore, thank God. But the thing, I want to go back to what I said earlier, where it's like it feels like compared to the original, there's a lot more enemies this time around swarming you, so you really have to watch where they're coming from on all sides, because if you don't, somebody's going to come behind you, somebody's going to come to the left, somebody's going to come to the right, and you're not going to see it coming. So it felt like in that village part alone, you had to always be on the move. If you weren't, then you're going to get boxed in and killed really easily. So that's how I feel about them. Not the brightest tools in the shed, but it is enough to get by and make the game feel really intense if they box you in. Next up is Interlution.
Okay, so I think actually compared to the original, there was definitely middle in between-ish, but I feel like more on the more improved side, because some Ganados are like, okay, they're enemy placements, there's like one over by where you get the TMP that's just always there when you head into the village. If he grabs you, then the cutscene of the pillars, Salvador knocking the pillars down. There's like some ganados that grab you and then do that. But yeah, the grabbing from behind, that is quite annoying. Most definitely. But yeah, I do feel kind of in the middle, but more on the improved side because they do go around you. You have to watch all sides, and they're like, yeah, it's improved.
All right, next up is Des. What do you think about this?
So I was a little nervous at first because I feel like the first encounter you have with them, like the first real encounter you have with them where you actually um can get a little worried about having to fight them is after the main well, after the main house, I don't know, after the house at the beginning, when you're going through the woods and you come up to this like truck and there's like two kind of hanging out there. I was a little nervous because as I was attacking one, the other one kind of just was there. So I was like, oh, so I mean, on the one hand, I was happy because I was like, yeah, you can fight one at a time. But I was like, oh, that's not really much of a challenge though. So I took them out like one at a time, but then like as you get into the village and then you have to fight, Chainsaw Man. It got a little bit more difficult because I felt like they were definitely a little bit smarter in the sense that like, oh, you're attacking one of my friends, I'm gonna come attack you while you're attacking my friend. And it was a little bit like hard if you got like you couldn't let yourself get boxed in. I luckily did not die at all, but I kept like running circles around them. Now the only thing I can say is as I was running circles around them, they didn't really react even if I was like super close to them when I ran. They didn't really react much, except maybe like one or two of them that would punch me out as like I ran by them. But like, I did like the fact that it seemed like a little bit harder as you were getting kind of hoarded. But like, I think that's all I really have to say. I don't know if they like I can't remember for sure if they like dodged anything that you like threw at them. At least with my playthrough, I feel like they kind of like either took like being shot at or being meleeed as opposed to trying to dodge out of the way to like I guess preserve their life or like attack you. So maybe like that'll be something that is shown more when the game comes out. But yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily think that they were super like that they were dumb. But maybe like in between. I think I'm gonna go more in between.
I guess this is a semi clarification, but they can dodge out of the way, but I haven't seen a villager do it in terms of like how it was done in the original. But I do know that after aiming at the big Salvador chainsaw guy for far too long, he was moving his head out of the way. So I think after a certain period, maybe like 5 seconds, he starts doing it. I did see that.
Oh, okay. Well, I was like, I didn't experience any of that, but I do vaguely remember it being in the original game. So I was like, hopefully they stick with that. It'll be infuriating, but like, hopefully they stick with that because a challenge would be nice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Next up is, let me see, Shadow. You go next on this one. If you haven't already.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
I think this is largely a watch this space, to be honest. I don't think we're really given enough information to really make a proper assessment. I think one thing I'll say for the nerds, I think it's a nice change in a way that like you're kind of encouraged to like down enemies and then follow up on them to make sure they're dead, by stabbing them so they don't get back up as a more parasitic form, which can be a bit dangerous. They move pretty quick, they can take some hot hits. If you leave them unattended, like that could be a bit of a problem and catch you out in some hard situations. I think that's a nice touch and a nice tweak. But I didn't really get an impression that the Ganado is really behaved any particularly different than what they used to do. I think they behaved as you would expect them to do. There's more of them, yes, and that's a benefit of the fact that the game's like it's been nearly 2 decades since the original came out. and that's something they can do. They can throw more dudes at you, so it can feel more of like you against them, and yet you're completely out in the open. And you're surrounded on all sides. That's a good thing. It lets you kind of get that feeling. One of the most things that's I think one of the sections of the original game that people remember very fondly is the house standoff with Lewis, because it's literally just you and Lewis against absolutely everyone and their grandmother, and it was fun because it's just a simple siege defense. Sit there and you hold out for as long as you physically can until eventually you've killed enough dudes and go on. And I think this game's going to try and veer into that. I think there's definitely examples that will happen. But I didn't come out of it thinking like the Ganados are a great reinvention by any stretch of imagination. They're there to serve a purpose. I think they're going to be there as much for story as anything else. I think on normal difficulty, they weren't that hard to fight. I didn't feel much of an incentive really to like shoot them in body parts to melee them, whereas in the original, I felt like it was definitely much more encouraged because it was reasonably easy to kind of stun them so you could melee up with them. But I found on just playing normally, I was just shooting center mass most of the time and just killing them with sheer rate of bullets. You play on hard difficulties, maybe you've got a bit more clever about how you do it. But I think if you're just playing generally, like I don't think you really need to worry about it. As chances come up, hit them, great. Do some damage, get some kills, but maybe they'll surprise me in the main game, but I didn't come out of it especially wowed.
All right, AK Austin, what about you? What do you think of the AI so far?
The AI so far, I'm a little bit on with Shadow here with a few slight adjustments. I don't think it's like a proper way to tell if the AI is complete, and we would know more on the full release. I did notice that the Ganados at times were pretty intelligent. I think they're trying to get the understanding, and the main point is they're going for is that even though they're not zombies, they're still being controlled by something, so their actions seem a little bit more sluggish and a little bit slow. And I might be just overthinking this as a gameplay standpoint, but I think as you progress in the game, the Ganados will be smarter and smarter. I think the cultists and the island dwellers will be a lot more smarter in the terms of their tactics and etc. There might be a learning curve that the enemies get as you play. Like they might figure out, oh, you use this weapon more, so we'll just dodge it when you're using it more. We don't know. We absolutely do not know if they're going to get this type of implementation. We don't know if their AI is going to be this extensive. What I do know is that they're definitely more on the aggressive side, because this game is much more, or not much more, but still a significant increase of aggression. There's a lot more movement, so enemies are going to be moving a lot more aggressively. I feel like I've seen them duck behind their own companions just to get out of their way. I've seen them gang up on you. They like to grab you from behind because they love doing that. I would say wait till the full release to get the full opinion, but so far it's an improvement, but it's not a significant improvement to see quite a drastic change, is what I'm trying to say. I'm hoping that what I've just said just now, that gets implemented. I would love to see a little bit more variety in how Ganados work. If they learn from how your gameplay style is and they adapt to it, that'd be really cool. I think that's makes the Ganados even more crazier to face. I'm really hoping for smarter AI, because the original is just run at you, attack. Certain distance, throw something, etc. Where in this one, you can't really bait them into attacking you unless you got to get right in their face. So there's a little bit more of ingenuity going on there, but let's wait till the full release.
Yep, and we didn't get to the Zealot chapter or the island, so that's when the enemies get even smarter and they have body armor and stuff like that. So it's a wait and see affair for many people, and I can understand that. Next up is talking about the small story elements that we saw in the intro, and of course during the time with the demo. Now it's in the village, but we did see a little cutscene with a small bit of exposition. So I want to get people's opinion on that. I'm going to go with Shadow first.
Right. I'm going to do my best not to take everyone's points that they want to obviously bring to this, but I have plenty that I do need to say here, so I'll try and be as succinct as I can. So I think one of the benefits of this demo is that if you think, I still believe with the original game that the opening section of Resident Evil 4 is obviously very iconic, very famous for those who were there, and was probably one of the best sections of the game. I don't think there's much argument to say that the village area and especially the opening like hour or so, and what it throws you into like is absolutely amazing. And it's an incredible experience. If anyone's listening to this who has never played it, it's a shame you weren't there. And then as it turns out, it's pretty good for a demo when, the opening section for your game could well be one of your best parts of your game. It's pretty useful. I am slightly concerned there's going to be eventually some retconning from Nemesis for RE3. I'm not going to get into those details now. It's not really relevant to the conversation. But I have a bit of a fear from kind of what I've kind of glimpsed and what I've been able to kind of get a feel from, and even from the demo, I think it's confirmed it a bit. I get the impression that this game wants to break the mold that RE4 cast upon like half an industry. I've got a funny feeling that this game might actually get ironically constrained by it a little bit. What I mean is, you think what RE4 was, like, it is, one of the greatest games ever made. And the problem is when you're a remake of that, it's hard not to be a tribute act. When a game like RE4 defines so many things and I've reinvented a genre, like, how do you hold account to that? It's pretty difficult. Now, it's not me. I'm not here saying that like this is not going to be a bad game, or a good game, or anything like that. I think this is probably going to be one of the best Resident Evil games made since Resident Evil 4. I can tell that from the gameplay. It's very, very smooth. The graphics, everything like that. But the point is that it probably is the best since Resident Evil 4. And I think there's context that needs to be applied here. My impression from playing the demo a few times and seeing some reactions, I think there's two different audiences there's going to be for this game. I think you're going to find that you've got people who've played Resident Evil 4 and have played it a lot in the past. I've got a lot of good memories about it. And then you got the folks who never played it and who want to know what all the fuss was about 2 decades ago and want to know why this game is so highly revered. And I think there's a conflict there. I don't think you can properly satisfy both people. And I think that reflects in, again, I'm going a bit tangent. I'm trying to be concise here. If you go to like a lot of the reviews that have come out for this game from all the big sites, there's a lot of high ratings, and again, like this game will probably come up at the end of the year for like as a nominee for Game of the Year. I thoroughly expect that. But it's fascinating to note that amongst all the 10s and 9.5 sort of thing coming out, that there are some 8s. And there are some like sort of 7.5s out there. And I think that reflects the fact that there are two different audiences for this game. And I think one of them is getting catered to more than the other. I think for people who've never played, if you played the original game, you should definitely play it 100%. You'll thoroughly enjoy it. If you've never played the original, you should play this game 100%. You'll definitely enjoy it. But I have concerns that I think there's going to be this nagging feeling of playing this game. And I talk about Salvador, for example. I'm trying to get at here, is that this game wants, I think, to streamline the experience from the original game. And I see that in kind of like with Super Salvador, I think is actually a tidbit. You think Super Salvador in the original RE4, Super Salvador was like this giant, massive, crazy dude. And you think back to a lot of RE4, it was a wild game. It was completely all over the place. It was wacky. It was insane. It was wildly uneven at times, but I think that was one of the game's great strengths. And the impression I got from what I've seen is I think they want to streamline that. You think back to like some of the hardest rooms in RE4, like the infamous room where you're protecting Ashley in the castle, and you think back to that. It was balls tough. But I think one of the things that made RE4 so great is that it was willing to throw you into these really difficult situations. I don't think this game's going to do this. I think this game's going to soften up. And I felt that from the village as well in the standoff. If you want to, the village standoff can be made super easy. You can do it super quick. If you literally just run into that house and you go in straight away, the standoff's over in like 2 minutes. And the first time I played it, it's like I was busy, obviously, defending myself and fighting, exploring the village. And all of a sudden it was over. I was like, what? And it'd been like 2 and a bit minutes. And that was it. The villagers walking in and siege is over. Like I hadn't even had a proper chance to fight Salvador. And that really kind of that took me a bit by surprise. So that is my concern that I take into the main game from this. And I am concerned that story-wise, there's going to be some changes. I think the tone is going to be a more streamlined experience, and I just feel like this game is going to struggle to really capture the essence of what I've. But how do you do that? How do you stand in on the shoulder of giants? The shadow that game cast I think might actually be too big for this game. How does this reinvent a genre from a game that already did it 2 decades ago? I don't think this game can do that. And I hope people don't go into this expecting it to do that, because I think they might be disappointed.
All right, so I kind of want to follow up on that and then just
I know I covered a ton of stuff, and I do apologize, but there's a lot to talk about.
No, it's fine. I just want to kind of go into that with what the developer said and give my own opinion on it before I go into the question. So they already said that they know they cannot fully live up to the original in terms of like how that reinvented everything. They said that their goal is not to say, oh, we're going to reinvent the third person shooter genre again, because like that's impossible. RE4 has already done that for the original. But what they said was they want to take this game and just tweak all the mechanics up to 11 and hope that the modernization shines through with making it better. So that's the goal I'm sort of looking at when playing this game. As for when it comes to like the fan base and them being appeased and whatnot, I don't think that I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that RE people can ever be pleased, because even when this conversation was happening with RE2 remake, there were people saying, "Oh, the original is better because this one cut out this moment and that moment, and we don't have the marshalling yard anymore." So there was that debate going on. And I think it's going to be more or less some of the case with this one, but much to a lesser extent. And it's just, I just think outside of that realm, Capcom is obviously going to have a hard time appeasing everybody, but when you try to appease everyone, you end up with stuff like RE6, and you end up appeasing no one. So they just kind of have that paradigm there with them at all times.
It's tricky. Again, I don't obviously know the format we're going for here, but that's the point I want to make here. I just fear that from what I've experienced, I don't think this game is going to have the same charm as what Resident Evil 4 originally did, because it can't have the same charm. Again, that game lived and thrived on being this completely crazy experience and all this madness you do in the game, constantly throwing new stuff. I just don't think this game is going to have that. I think this game is going to be really solid. It's going to be really enjoyable. I think the combat's going to be as smooth as butter, but I just don't think it's going to be able to have that little extra charm that RE4 did. I think it's going to try. I think it's going to try and emulate it, but I don't think it's going to find it. And for me, I can't see how this can be a better game than a game that like did so much for the genre it is. That's not to say I still think it's going to be a great game, but from what I've seen and from what I feel, I just don't think it's going to have that, and that's a real shame. But how can this game possibly find that and capture that? I think it's an impossible ask.
I think it's just going to be an RE2 scenario. There's going to be people that like the original. There's going to be people that like the remake. It is what it is at this point. And I don't think there's going to be any change in it. I think there's going to be people like, I don't want to play a game where I can't walk and shoot anymore. That's fine. And then there's going to be people that's like, well, I like the modernized mechanics of this game, so it's not really a problem. It's going to be those two.
I just think it should be acknowledged that I do think there's 2 different audiences for this. And I do think they are looking slightly different. I think that's reflected in a lot of the reviews you've seen. That all these 10s here, like I say, obviously it's like the greatest game ever made. I don't see how can this be the greatest game ever made when it's a remake of what probably was the greatest game ever made. I don't think you can possibly do it. So, and I think that's something. There's people play it. I think you're gonna find people that have played this game. They're gonna have this niggling little feeling in the back of their head where they're gonna, it's gonna bug them. It's gonna be that tiny little thought. They're gonna desperately try not to think about it. The game's gonna try desperately to not let them think about it. But I think it's going to be persistent in those little moments here and there, in boss fights that I don't think are going to be quite as remarkable. They might be more gimmicky. And and it's so brutal because of the charm and just the amazingness of RE4. And knowing that this game, I don't think can emulate that. And I don't think it can make up for it. But it will still be a fantastic experience nonetheless. But it just isn't going to be there for me.
Let's see. Let's pass on to the audience and what they think. Like, what do you guys think of the?
Yeah,
I had lots to talk about that.
Let me just add on this because you're leaving out a major aspect because you're you're very wrapped up in the original and when it came out, and you're leaving out a huge portion of you're comparing, and you can't compare because when RE4 first came out back when it did, what was it, 90, what was it, I don't remember, but the point is when it came out there was nothing like it. So yeah, it was so changing at that time. You're trying to make the remake, yes, but I think this game is going to benefit greatly from streamlining because the original was so all over the place. And that was one of the biggest drawbacks playing it now, looking at it, playing it now and looking back at it, it's really not as great as it was. It's the nostalgia that you're hanging on to. And the second you can let that go, you're going to see that this is going to be a much better experience. And I just think I'm in the other camp. I think streamlining it, simplifying it, cutting out all the other garbage that was in RE4 is going to be so much better. A lot better. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be the greatest game. There's a lot of drawbacks. I know I wasn't here for the Ganado conversation, but the AI was it was stupid. It was more about overwhelming than it was about, intelligence. And, you could take that in either side. I mean, they're brainless creatures. So, take that with a grain of salt. But, playing RE4 again recently, there was a lot of complaints and looking at it going, really? This is not the same thing I remember. And that's because you had that initial awe when it first came out. Like, this is something we've never seen before, and it's completely different. And then, comparing the two, you can't because you're comparing the event when it happened. It's like watching Borat for the second time. Like, the first time you watch Borat, it's absolutely hilarious. You watch it again, you're like, I can't believe I like this movie. So I just feel like I'm in the other camp where I think streamlining it would be benefit to the game. But I'm not saying it's going to be the greatest game. I just would like to wait and see.
Yeah, I'll just say I'm not trying to compare. I'm trying to offer context, and I think that you can't ignore the context. Can't be ignored of that ultimately this is a remake of a game of what it did. You can't necessarily compare because obviously they're 20 years old. It's like trying to compare Resident Evil Remake 2 to the original Resident Evil 2. You can't really do it, and it's not fair to do that at all. But I think that I think this has to be acknowledged in the context that it's a remaking of what was at the time when it was made one of the best games that was ever made. And I think that it streamline will be helpful for a lot of people. Like, if you turn down difficult on some of the bits, fine. For a lot of people, that's probably good because people don't really want balls hard difficulties jumps nowadays. It's kind of gone out of fashion, and on the experience for a lot of people, it probably is going to be a good thing. But I just think that, to me, I think that was part of Resident Evil 4's charm. I think what made it so memorable at times is that the terror that it was willing to throw anything at you. And it's just, from what I've seen from this demo, I don't get the impression it's going to do the same thing. I think this will be, I can easily see it playing for this and think it's going to be easy. I saw like 9 out of 10, but I've not seen enough in this demo to say it's going to be a 10 out of 10 game.
I feel like it's just a lot to be determined until the game comes out. That's where I sort of land on this question as it goes further. Des, I know you wanted to say something about this.
Okay, thank you. I have a lot to say. I did forget a little bit because of the back and forth, but I feel like, first off, we're not going to be able to judge this whole game based solely on the demo. I don't even think in the original that anybody thought that game was going to be as crazy. And I haven't beaten the entire game, but as in the amount that I've played, they threw a lot of am I allowed to cuss? Wait.
Yes,
they threw
yes,
a
you
lot.
can.
Okay, they threw a lot of shit at you, and I don't think from the beginning of the game you're going to like think that you're getting all that shit thrown at you. So we only got to play a little teeny bit of it, and it was literally just the first 15 minutes. So I don't think we can judge it in that sense. On the topic of, I'm just trying not to forget everything I wanted to say, so I'm kind of speeding through it. But
I'm so sorry.
on the topic of, is this game going to be better or whatever than the original? I honestly, in my personal opinion, I love anything Resident Evil, even if it's shit. So I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna enjoy it. Like, it's whatever. That's my personal opinion. I feel like that's how some people are gonna be. Some people aren't gonna like it, and that's okay. Some people are gonna like it, and that's okay. This game being catered to two different groups of people. Again, we're not really going to be able to tell until the full game comes out. There were quite a few changes in it that we can see in the demo, and it's not like, it doesn't look like it's going to be direct, just like copy and paste of everything, which is like okay. But I think one of the main things I wanted to get to was this game. I can see how people may or may not like it as much as the original, because the original was the first Resident Evil that was completely different out of all of the previous ones before it. And this one does kind of feel like it's just going to play like Resident Evil 2 Remake in a sense. But so I can understand your thoughts and feelings there. It doesn't feel like, I guess, mechanic wise, that it's going to do anything different from the remakes that we've had. But again, it's something that we're gonna have to see when it comes out. We're just not gonna know. I don't know if it's fair to solely judge it based on this short little snippet of what we got to play. So yeah, I think those are all my thoughts. If I remember anything else, I'll let y'all know.
Okay, fair enough. Anyone else want to chime in on this?
I kind of want to go back on the point of you saying Resident Evil 6 didn't appease anybody. I kind of like that game. All right, that's all I gotta say.
No, so my point there is that it's not the fact that they didn't try to appease to people. They clearly did, but with the multiple playstyles, you had Leon, that was a slow moving zombie segment, which is trying to harken back to survival horror. You had Jake, where it's very experimental. It's a mix of action, a mix of horror and spots. And then you had Chris, where it's you're running around. It's full on Gears of War. It's like a third person shooter fully. They tried to appease all crowds, and what happened was the campaigns are as bloated, the word I want to use, or it was a little bit of a disparity there with quality, because some campaigns were better than others. I thought Jake's campaign was not the greatest, but I really liked the story of Chris's campaign, and I liked the gameplay of Leon's campaign. But it was picking and choosing, which is what they tried to do. And some people absolutely did not like that at all, which I get, but other people did. That says she hates RE6, so there you go. That's one of them. But yeah, I think it's a guilty pleasure, but they definitely were trying a lot in that game.
I mean, to be fair, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you're automatically rolling with the punches anyways. You readily accept that some of the games you're going to play are not going to be great, and that's just part of the deal. You don't get to be a fan of this series and only play the good games. Don't work like that.
Yeah, I play Resident Evil Survivor, and oh boy, that was something.
I mean, I've played worse games than RE Survivor. I have played worse. Not many. It's not a great game, but it was.
What do you mean? Gaiden was the best of them all.
I'm not even gonna dignify that a response.
Outbreak? No.
Outbreak was good.
I still play Outbreak. I played Outbreak 2 weeks ago.
Umbrella Corps? No.
What was the one where you played as the survivors?
You play who?
As the survivors. It was an old PS2 game.
Yeah, I've received Outbreak, the Outbreak series.
I liked that one.
Yeah, I still play it. I do.
That one needs to be remade.
I agree.
I need someone to.
Technically, if you go by the old Capcom leaks that came out, there's meant to be something for Outbreak some point this year.
I need someone to link me to Outbreak so that I can replay through it.
I have a full guide. I'll link it to you at the end.
Thank you.
And cheap plug alert, I've got tons of content on my channel. No, I won't go.
Umbrella Corps.
But yeah, no, it's just I I think this is something that's going to come out of this. I think on the more critique side, and I just think it would be. I think it would be doing a disservice to either this game or the original not to at least recognize that there has to be some kind of context to what we're going to be playing. And I hope I'm wrong. You know, if I hope it's wrong, and I play this game and think, you know what, actually this is like a 10 out of 10 game, great. You know, I eagerly wait for the game to surprise me, but I just don't think it's going to try. And it doesn't necessarily have to try. So
Yeah, it's fine. Like I said, I just think it's going to be a paradigm of there's going to be people who like the original. There's going to be people who just say I just want to walk and shoot this time around. This is going to be. I think it's going to boil down to the same binary answer at the end of the day, like it usually does.
It's tough. Remake 2, I think, found that sweet spot between the two, I think, pretty well. I think they did a really good job with that, which is why I recommend it to anyone who's never played like an RE game. It's like, play Resident Evil Remake 2. You know, like, you will not be disappointed.
I love Remake 2 so much, but so many people I've seen complain about them all, so I was like, it's just sort of the same thing I was talking about. Either way, though, as I could get into some of the story context that I've seen, I mean, it's fine to me. They're trying to add in more context with Leon and Krauser, although they did change that Krauser is not he's not a corporal anymore. He's a major, so he's Leon's teacher now, which I guess they did that for emotional effect because it's like,
yeah, that's what it is. There's gonna be little retcons. My concern, and I'm curious to see how they're going to address it, is how they're going to explain Nemesis having a parasite several years, 6 years before the events of this game even took place. So I'm curious to see how they're going to address that one.
I kind of have a indication of where it's gonna go, but I
don't necessarily know if I like it.
I can pitch in on that one.
Go ahead.
We'll see.
Nemesis always had a T parasite, even in the original.
No, that's well, I don't want to say it because spoilers, so I'm gonna keep it off the grid.
There's no need to get into this conversation, but
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they're gonna exactly answer that. So.
But I kind of have a, if you see trailer 3, you'll kind of have an indication if you look closely. But for the most part, they're gonna try connecting a lot of the series together with this. I already heard the Operation Javier line in the trailer.
Yep.
Yeah, where he's fighting Leon. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. But yeah, they're trying to put in the events just like Remake 1 did, where they put in the fact that Code Veronica was linked to RE1, and that never happened in the original. So it's...
And that's what you do. I mean, it's the same as the Dead Space remake. You know, you've got the benefit of 10 years of games and such or whatever else, so you're able to then add in these little tie-ins here and there. So those that have been there and played those games can appreciate that. And if you've not played them, it's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about it. You take advantage of that. So, anyways, I've completely derailed this, so I do apologize. But
no, it's fine. It's an interesting debate that came up, so I guess I wanted to sort of dive in on it. But it's all good.
I try not to do a disservice here. I only do it if I feel it's necessary.
That's fine. The new scenes I also thought were pretty interesting, and I'm kind of, one thing that people were complaining about was that Leon wouldn't be cheesy, but he is in the demo, where he's saying one-liners like I'll bill you for the repairs later, or where's everyone going, bingo. That happens at the end.
There's gonna be some homages. I think the one thing I'm hopeful for is that they do rewrite some of the dialogue, so like Lewis isn't quite as creepy sometimes as he tends to be. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of focus with Ashley and how like she is going to be portrayed, and obviously there's a lot of thought where obviously she was a stick to beat the original game with. There's no question about that. So I'm obviously curious to see what they're going to do in this one, but I'm also going to be watching out for that. I am concerned, and that they're going to like portray that like she's more helpful, more useful, more sort of forthright and less scared, but when you boil it down, she's still doing exactly the same things that she did in the first place.
It's kind of crazy in the trailers, though. Like she's actually stabbed Leon. If you see when she's infected, and they're gonna play more on her pulling guns out on Leon. And it just seems like they want to do more emotional stuff with this, as opposed to saying Leon, help, and then she runs into a corner and gets caught.
They have to. They feel obliged to try.
Yeah,
obliged. But I'll reserve my judgment until I see it, and I'll see what I think of it. But I don't know.
I can say I like it, as opposed to just saying when Ashley is caught, she's gone for literally like two halves of the game. It's you don't even notice that she's there anymore, which is baffling to me. So I assume like maybe Luis is there to help you out in the mines, and he never was there before. So they gave you some companion that you care for, that you want to see be more in the game, and I kind of like that he's there as opposed to not being there in the first place.
I think Lewis having expanded role is going to be good. There's no way it can't be a good thing. I think that'll be really really good. So, but again, we shall see. You know, if Ashley's still going to remain the damsel in distress, even if they try and kind of give her like a bit of a makeover. I think it might still be the case, but we'll see. Anyways,
I hope not.
I don't think they will. I feel like this game is very centered based on what they've released and what they've talked about. You know, talking about, you know, like you said, she disappears for a whole like 2.5 hours of the game or half the game or whatever. They said that they were going to make that a huge part of what happened with her on that. So I don't know. I feel like they're going to focus a lot more on her than anything else. But, you know, we don't know.
What comes of it. Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, just the way you're saying it, I feel like it's going to be like Resident Evil 2, where you have like side A with Leon, side B with Claire.
I want it to be like that, but I don't think they're going to go that far. I think it's going to be the same sort of linear style campaign, but they might expand on sections. They did this in RE2, where it's like Sherry's and Ada's section were a bit different compared to the original, so it's going to be something familiar but different.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyways, get John on a bit real quick before we move on. If I remember correctly, they have stated that they are encouraging multiple playthroughs because apparently you can do different stuff throughout the playthroughs, like different routes / pathways you can take. So they're adding a little bit more variety to the linear part of the game. So you can take multiple routes, or at least a couple different routes during certain sections of the game. Just to point that out.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going back and rediscovering things, especially if it gives story context. Anyone else on this question before we move on to the gore?
And try to regain some sense of where we were.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, let's collect ourselves. We spent like almost half an hour to 40 minutes on that one question.
It encompasses a lot.
It
does. But we got two more.
This one's a little bit more simple. Same with the last one. What are your thoughts on the gore system itself after playing the game? I will let you go first, Austin, since you really wanted to talk.
You know me. I'm a bit of a gore freak when it come to terms of I'm the one doing the gore. Yeah. Like I said, the shotgun is the best example of just dismembering enemies. You can legit blow pieces of them off. I'm like, dude, this reminds me so much of the Dead Space remake. It's not even funny. The amount of just like you shoot their stomach and you can either tear them in half, or you can legit see like a hole through their stomach and they're just like barely keeping on. You can shoot half of their freaking face off with a shotgun. You just see their skull and brains everywhere. You can see their limbs just get completely dismembered. You can parry their arm off. That's like one of the coolest parts of the parry, is that being able to exactly just cut off the arm and like, get the hell away from me. So cool. So goddamn cool. The best part of that demo and the gameplay so far is just the dismemberment of the knife parry and just blowing guys away. Pause. With just a shotgun, or the TMP. I've noticed that you can actually shoot limbs off that kills them. Like if they die, you tear them apart with the TMP. The handgun, surprisingly, I think has a much better critical hit rate than the original. It feels like 10 to 15% per headshot you get a critical. But yeah, I just like the just shanking somebody with a knife is super brutal. All the blood, all the just like the visceral action. The sound design's amazing. Seeing Salvador legit decapitate / cut people in half, it's been so ecstatic. And I like, from the trailers alone, they're showing a lot more like graphic content with what you can do and what happens to Leon. So I'm just gonna say, just imagine the death scene of the acid spray by the Novisadors on Leon in this game, Because the original, the worst death that Leon could have is from the Novisador's acid spit.
Yep, and they're in this
Yeah.
game. If you watch trailer
They're in
3,
this game.
they're in the game. I want to go real quick on this.
Go ahead.
It's not gonna take too long, but there's 2 things that I noticed. Well, I would say 3. So I'm gonna rapid fire. First, this game's going to be censored to hell and back in Japan, even with the Zero Z version is coming. I don't think they're gonna be able to see any of this. Number 2 is that I've noticed when you shoot someone in half, or if you shoot someone's arm off, you can see the plaga entanglement inside their body, which is very freaking disturbing, seeing that little like squid bug thing stuck to their spine. And I get it makes sense from a lore perspective because the plaga is stuck to the spine, so if you pay close attention you'll be able to see it. And the third one is the death scenes are very brutal. I've seen Leon have his head like torn off by an axe, and I also seen him get his eyes like gouged out. So it's not a pretty sight in this game, which makes me believe that the death sequences are going to be disgusting later on in the game. And it's like literally 15 hours long, and you're fighting like all these different types of enemies, Gyarados, Regenerators, Krauser. So it's gonna be pretty disgusting to see when you die in this game. That's what I'm looking forward to, and I honestly cannot wait. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Des.
So I didn't really dive through this playthrough. I kind of want to play through it again though, just to experience like some of the deaths. But so I never saw any of the Leon deaths, but like the initial, when you see the first guy that walks down the steps into the basement towards you, like the first enemy, when his head like is like, his neck is broken. I was kind of like freaked out about that a little bit, so I thought that was really interesting and thought that we would end up having like interesting I guess I'm not sure if that would be the only like really weird thing that we would see in terms of enemies being injured, but I guess not. Like hearing from you guys, like I didn't see much. I did think that a cool thing was when you were able to, I guess, like parry, I guess, when he was able to like kind of kick them or whatever away, like how quickly they would die was interesting. But I don't think that I got to experience like the gore and stuff that you guys are talking through. I only played through this demo like one time, but I'm really interested to see how these deaths and just the gore in the game pan out.
Kaneki, it's your turn.
To answer about that censorship question, Ren, the Japanese players, they got 2 options. They can either import the game, if they're playing it on PlayStation, of course, or they could just buy, respectively, on Steam, and they'll wait for a mod where it patches out the censored gore.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Because there are mods where they'll do a region, for specifically region mods, where they'll uncensored the gore, so they probably won't miss out. For this, my overall thoughts on the gore, I really think that since this is the same devs that did the RE2 remake, the fact that they ramp it up with the gore is just so satisfying to see, especially playing the demo so multiple times, and the fact that the chainsaw guy, El Salvador, when you kill him, the fact that he still kills the like some sort of friendly fire still comes to play, which definitely take advantage of that, and he still cuts enemies head off, sometimes hit the enemies on the ground when he's finally dead. This is interesting to see. Now, I don't know if anyone saw this, but there was a death where Leon's head came off. Like, one of the enemies decapitated his head. I don't know if anyone saw that.
I've seen it. It happens when someone's holding you from behind and they have an axe.
Yeah.
And if
That shit was crazy.
if they kill him on low health, he will literally be executed and beheaded. I'm like, holy fuck, that just happened.
That is something. You know what? That is something I would never expect for them to do. But you know what? I'll take it. The fact that even you could get your head decapitated is fantastic. So that's it for me.
Todowski, what do you think of this question?
Oh, sorry. Honestly, I think you guys are pretty much on the spot or on the ball with it. I mean, I think it's a really cool aspect that they are going into such detail. Um, I personally like that realism kind of effect, and I think the fact that where you shoot them, how that how you injure them, hit them, whatever you want to do, and even back to you. I mean, as Leon, like you said, I saw the decapitation, and that's like just those little things is kind of like icing on cake. It just brings it all together, and I think it's a really cool aspect.
All right, next up is Enderlucian.
Yeah, I just rewatched the decapitation one. That is insane. Though with the other kills, there's quite a bit of gore in it, and I can't wait for the later enemies like the Regenerator, Novistador, just everything. El Gigante, maybe Splatoon 2, I don't know. But yeah, I just can't wait.
There's also Mendez as well. I keep forgetting about that. He has some pretty cool deaths in the original.
Oh, yeah.
Ben, what do you think of this question?
I kind of didn't really pay attention to the gore, but I did look at the environment, and it was honestly, it was pretty tame.
One thing I did not notice, I don't know why I never noticed this. Maybe I was blind, but that door that you get to before you get to the village, it was always something like wet and soft that fell down. And I noticed, I looked up and I noticed it was like 5 severed heads on the gate. And I'm like, that's exactly what fell down. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, cool decent.
Did you guys look at the animal corpses?
I did, and it's disgusting.
I did.
Ugh.
I wish we could have saved that dog.
Yeah, the dog got killed, but I'm having a feeling that's a red herring because I was thinking to myself, hold on, the dog in the original was white, this one is black,
Yeah.
so I think they're fucking with us.
One of the interviews the devs played about it, and they pretty more or less just confirmed that it's not the same dog.
I figured as much. Like, it's a different color. No way it's the same one. That's a little bit of a fake out, but that's all in the love of fun. People will be thinking about that if they play the original. Like, oh, then they'll start double guessing. Like, that wolf's white. Wait a minute. But let's see who else is next. Shadow, I want you to go on this one.
Not as red. No. I mean, I think it's pretty visually impressive. It's pretty brutal as well. I didn't explore a ton of it into it, but I will say, like using, especially like the shotguns, like shooting enemies into half and watching the blood flood like confetti out of a pinata. I mean, it was pretty impressive, I found. And also kind of like horrifyingly like fascinating. If you're into the whole virtual gore stuff, then Remake 4 is going to have you covered. There's no concerns about that one.
Okay, so anyone else on the gore before we move on? Going once, going twice. Sold to the Ganado in red and gore. So we're gonna wrap up with the final question here, and that is, in closing, did the demo live up to your expectations or did it fail them? I'm just gonna go really quickly. I think it did. I think it served what it needed to do, which is, have a little bit of a slight improvement on what RE4 was with the new mechanics and what it came to be, and how that parry mechanic made a world of difference on certain encounters. I want to see how the rest of the game holds up in terms of how these mechanics work and how they operate on other enemies, because if we don't see how the mechanics work and their fullest potential, then it's all for naught. I cannot wait until I see that, but until then, I would say that for what it is, a bit-sized piece, it was satisfying. The only thing I'm really disappointed about is I kind of preferred how Village did it. And let me explain. It was basically like Village gave us 2 demos. So we had the one where we were in the village for like a certain portion, and then we had the one where we're in the castle. Now I'm glad that they did not give us a time demo this time around, but they were generous enough to give us at least 2 of them, which is, adding more flavor to the pot. So I wish this would have had maybe an additional level, as opposed to just saying, hey, here's mad chainsaw mode, which might not even be in the game, might be retooled to be professional. Let's just give them that, and that's it. So I wish it was like 2 stages to give us enough time to play with the game. Maybe 1 stage with the village and another stage when you're returning from the village with Ashley, and you get to test out the mechanics and the AI from there. I wish they would have did it that way, but beggars can't be choosers. The game is next week. We'll see everything under the sun then. I'm passing the torch to Shadow.
Yeah, I won't go as long as I did previously. I mean, like, control niggles aside, and that it took me a little while to get used to kind of how things were. I found it a bit clunky than it needed to be. I think it was a nice taster and a teaser of what's to come. And I can see, and I can be pretty sure that this is going to be a great game. This is going to be a fantastic remake. I would probably see if this remake is probably going to be incredible. But I just, as I mentioned, I just don't think it will ever show people who play this why Resident Evil 4 was as groundbreaking as it was originally. I think the context shouldn't be ignored. You could debate whether that matters or not, but there's no universe where this game can ever be anywhere near as important as the game it remade. It can't come out in the same time and space. And while I think this is going to be a fantastic game, this is going to be a Game of the Year contender. It might even well win it by the time it's all said and done. I think if you're someone who plays this and then gets to thinking why the original was so amazing, I think ultimately you probably have to just play the original to really put your mind back to it and then and experience why it changed it. I think this could well be a Game of the Year, but Resident Evil 4 original was like a game of the decade.
Oh shit! I didn't get what he finished.
Oh, you didn't?
No. What did you say at the end?
So I think I wrapped it up just as he said that. So just to express the last like 30 or seconds, so I said I pretty much surmised that the demo pretty much was super fun. I played it 20 times. It pretty much was how it should be for me. Is that it was an amazing game, amazing experience first time playing through, getting familiarized with it, and that it just leaves me excited because Resident Evil 4 original is one of my favorite games of all time. It's not my favorite Resident Evil, but it's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. I've played it to death and on many consoles, many systems, many playthroughs. And the demo of the remake has just brought that breath of fresh air back into my lungs just so I can exhale it once again in a new light, and I'm pretty much all down for it.
All right, next up is this. What do you think of the demo as a whole?
I went into it without knowing anything. I didn't watch any gameplay or anything for it, and I don't remember if I've watched the trailer or all of the trailers for the game either. So I went into it kind of expecting it. I don't know why. I went in expecting it would be kind of the same, or it would start kind of the same as the original game, and it didn't. But I mentioned earlier that it was kind of nice because there was a little bit of familiarity, but also it felt like a breath of fresh air because like some things were different, the mechanics and the graphics, everything was so nice. And I did initially feel a little bit, scared because of like the enemies. I wasn't 1,000% sure what to expect, but I kind of do like that, and I think the only thing I can say that I expected was the demo to be a little bit longer. Just because like once it got to the end, I was like, oh, that's it. Like I want more. So I'm like really pumped for the game to come out.
Next up is Andrew Lucian.
So with the demo, it did live up to my expectations. I really enjoyed it, hyping up Resident Evil 4 remake. And I watched like basically 75% of trailers and such, so I saw some of the familiarity between the two. So yeah, it just really got me hyped, and I'm just ready for the full game at this point.
Kaneki, it's your turn.
Not at launch, but down the line, when I finally pick up the game, I will definitely try it because this demo definitely makes me want to play the game more. But hopefully I get this game way before a certain date at June 2nd from their another game that they're gonna release. Because it'd be awkward if I pick up RE4 and then all of a sudden I pick it up the same day as I'm gonna be playing their other game, Street Fighter 6.
All right, as the Street Fighter 6 shield is over with, we had the
Yeah,
final
okay.
we had the final guest here. Tadowski, tell us what you think on this demo. Final thoughts.
Yeah. I know, contrary to kind of what I said earlier, I'm kind of on the fence here. I really don't know. Like we've said, it was really short. I mean, visually, of course, they're bringing it up to date, and that's great. But I feel like there's just a lot lacking at the same time. Um, there's certain graphical aspects I didn't like. I mean, I didn't like the way that they kind of made Salvador look. It just seemed a little cartoonish to me. Uh, the AI, like we were talking about the Ganados earlier, I feel like they were just kind of swarming. Wasn't really intelligent, but that's also just a small snippet of the game. I mean, they could be smarter later on. Who knows? Um, there were certain aspects. Now, as far as gameplay goes, it's amazing.
Whoa, did he
Oh.
cut for a second?
I think
Oh, yeah,
so.
cut.
I
Yeah,
thought that was my internet.
yeah, I thought that was me too.
Yeah,
and there were aspects I wasn't impressed with at all. So it's so it's kind of hard for me. I don't want to say it's good or bad either way, especially based off of just that small thing. I mean, based on what we've seen with trailers and all that kind of stuff, it looks great. But also with trailers, they always show you the cutscenes. So I mean, of course, cutscenes are always going to look good. So I don't know. It didn't scratch the itch I think it would have, or it should have. But at the same time, I can't say it was, horrible. I can't say, oh man, this looks so bad or anything like that. It's just kind of like a.
Okay, I
Did
think
it happen again?
come again.
I think we're good. Okay, so Fane, it's your turn for the last question.
Well, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm probably gonna pick it up after I beat 3 in Village. I do expect to see some good things about this game, maybe some bad things. I'm quite interested to see how they take this game and what they do with like some of the characters, like Ashley and the other. I honestly forgot what the other guy was.
Luis?
Yeah, Luis. My bad. As well as Ada, of course. I'm also kind of see what kind of extra content they're going to be adding to the Resident Evil 4, or if they are going to add extra content like the pumpkin tofu, and all that kind of stuff.
Good content.
Yeah, the good content.
I can't wait for Mercs, but I know it's gonna be DLC, so I'm assuming question mark later edition, gold edition for $20 with maybe some extra stuff in there. I don't know. This is how Capcom operates though, because they always make a gold edition each and every single time, and I have some feeling there's gonna be another one for this one. Cause I didn't think one was coming out for Village, but then I was like, lo and behold, oh there it is. So I have a feeling they're gonna do the same thing, even if they want to bundle in like free content, because they did it with Not a Hero for 7. They still put that as part of Gold Edition. So I'm assuming they're gonna do the same thing this time around. But we'll see what happens. They're still working on VR and Mercs and other stuff.
Oh God, VR. I don't expect anything from that.
I mean, it's cool if people like it. I can't fuck with it because I have motion sickness, so I can't deal with it.
I'm scarred of like the Kinect is going to make everything better generation. I'm so scarred.
Oh, no. Oh, that's another story for another day. But we're gonna sign out on this podcast and do outros. So I'll start from the bottom, work from the top. Todowski, where can we find you? if he can hear us, because he's not saying anything. Tech issues?
You better not have Comcast.
Yeah, Comcast is, well, I have Comcast. It's not that bad.
No, WoW's worse.
Ooh.
Indeed.
Well,
They don't help you.
I'll start from the top then. So, Austin, where can we find you, buddy?
I am AK Austin. You can find me over Twitch at AK Austin TTV. I also do YouTube as under AK Austin. I mostly upload my VODs up to there, so always check those out. You can find me on Twitter at AK Austin TTV yet again. And yeah, this was fun. I think this was a very good discussion for any future thoughts and expectations. So yeah, signing off.
Next up is Shadow.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Black0993, also Twitch at Black_Shadow_993. I'm actually hoping to get this game completed by the time we do the review, because in 3 days I board a plane for North America and I'm not back for a short while. So I'm hoping I can get it done in time, but hopefully we will do. But no, so I don't want to sit here and like feel like I'm the old grudge. I still think this is gonna be a fantastic game. I'm curious to see where it is. I guess, to me now it's like, I don't know. We will definitely see. I think the only question now is, once we're done with this, I'm curious to know is what's going to be next on Capcom's remake list, and when's it going to be done at Crisis?
Oh man, that's Exo Primal. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. Des, where can we find you outside of making that joke?
You can find me at twitch.tv/VersaVulture24, where I play mostly horror games and started up horror movie discussions as well. And that's the only thing I want to shout out. So yeah, it was fun being on this discussion. I had a great time. Can't wait for the game to come out either.
Still apologize, but yeah.
That's cool. It's cool, man. Enderlucian, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Insta at Enderlucian. And it was really fun doing this podcast, and hype for RE4 Remake.
Fane, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube and TikTok at Fansanity, where I do long gameplays, and TikTok I do highlights of some of the games I've been playing. You can find me on Twitter at Sanity Games. I'm looking forward to the Pixel Remaster collection of Final Fantasy.
All right, Street Fighter 6, man. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube under the same name as Google Order. And I am glad I'm not a Dino Crisis fan right now.
One day, man, maybe it will happen. I've said for ages, like with the RE engine, I think Dark Souls would look great.
I think one day it'll happen, but it's gonna be a lot of prayers for that one. And well, I mean, they have the assets from Exo Primal, so it could happen, maybe.
I mean, if Shinji wants to do one last thing before he sails off into the sunset.
I want to believe it, but he said he's retired, and Hi-Fi Rush was his last game. Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush is his last game.
Hi-Fi was the last thing he's gonna do, but I don't know. I think they can bait him. They can bait the carrot out. You're like, oh, it'd be so good.
Just give him a little bit more money and maybe
little money and say, go wild, do whatever you want. I
at least Hi-Fi Rush was super good.
Yeah. I need to play it, but it's just give him a little bit more money. He can say, "This is my last game forever." There you go.
Hi-Fi Rush is one of the best rhythm style fighting games. Action games. In a long time.
And I also want Evil Within 3, but I think it's Protege is gonna take care of that. John Johannes.
I don't think it was good, but that's not a action fighting game. That's
no. I know, but I just wanted the game for a little necessity's sake, just throwing that in there. Todowski, what about you? Where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, all Todowski, or you could link everything through my website, todowski.live.
And you can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. You can find me on Twitter at RentOperative_. I'm just gonna be shut up. I'm just gonna be playing Exo Primal since the beta's out. I gotta download it, of course, and see how that goes. But I know I did think it was decent, except for the PvP. And let's get that Dino Crisis hype train going someday, somehow, some way.
We can pray.
We can pray. Until then, we're signing off for the RE4 Remake Chainsaw Beta discussion. It was pretty fun, and we'll see you guys next week when the full game comes out. And hopefully we give our impressions and everything on the full game in April, because that podcast is scheduled then. So we will see you in April for RE4. And don't get killed by the Chainsaw Man. See you later.
Right, off to bingo.
Yes.